question is, why does the Catholic Church claim that Mary was sinless, even though she had an ordinary father and mother, and Jesus had to occur from an immaculate conception?
Right. So why do Roman Catholics believe in the Immaculate Conception? So this is not hard to figure out. So I could make this job very easy and say that there was a book that was written in the 2nd century, so it's really early. And many people thought this book should be in the Christian Bible. And it's called the Proto-Gospel of James. And it is in that book that expands much further onto Mary's life. And it's a fake book. I mean, it's not really written by James, and it's later than that, but people really loved it. And the Proto-Gospel of James explains all this, what were the conditions in which Mary was born. And remember, according to Christian theology, Mary was the mother of God. In fact, Catholics revere Mary, pray to Mary, and so do Orthodox Christians, as the mother of God. I didn't invent this. That's how they pray. But how could God be born to a woman if she's an heir to the original sin? That's what this is really all about. This is all really about one point. It's a reverse engineering, as we need our God to be born to a mortal, an incarnation. God has to be born without the stain of original sin. That's what the term immaculate means, without the stain of original sin. How do we arrange that? So Mary wasn't born to a virgin, but when she was in the womb of her mother, Anna, according to this tradition, she was cleansed before she was born of original sin, and therefore she was born immaculate. And the Proto-Gospel of James is a very elaborate explanation about, how was Mary raised? How did she come to be a virgin? Who was Joseph? Remember, Joseph is not mentioned in any of Paul's letters and not in the book of Mark. I've said it many times that I'm reasonably certain that Joseph never existed. He's an invented character which became necessary, and we only are introduced to him in Matthew and Luke and John in later books, not in the earlier books, because he had to be inserted. According to Mark, it was Jesus that was the carpenter. It was Jesus that was the tecton in Mark chapter 6, verse 3. But how do you then explain how Joseph was married to Mary, but she remained a virgin? Well, he was a really old guy. That explains it all. So the doctrine of the Immaculate Conception seeks to solve a problem, and that is, how could the Mother of God not transfer or convey over the original sin? And the answer is that when she was in her mother's womb, she was already cleansed of it. And therefore, that's why this tradition, that it's a Catholic tradition, that there were angels all over the place. It was a whole deal. The book goes on, I'm not going to go on, but goes on to, people came to inspect Mary to see that she was a virgin, and Salome shows up and does a post birth inspection. Don't ask, because it's a whole thing. So this all became how that book didn't make it into the New Testament is shocking. But that's where it all comes from. She's born without the stain of original sin.